It's not often that I get to interview a veteran in the industry. And truth be told, most MSPs either have bad data, they're not exactly sure what to do to the data, and even worse, they don't know how to monetize the data. And in this video, I'm going to be doing a full blown interview with Christina Klein from Lansweeper. And I'm super excited because we go really, really deep. After the show, I heard that I did kind of not stump her, but I threw in some really, really good questions that I think are going to shift the way that you as an MSP think. And not only that, it's going to help you make more money as time goes on. Understanding from somebody that sees inside of thousands of MSP networks what's going on, what works for some MSPs. And there's a lot of really good golden nuggets throughout this. So it is a bit of a longer format. Either feel free to throw on some headphones, take it with you, listen to it in the car, maybe at the gym. But whatever it is, there is so much gold in this. I think you're going to absolutely love it. My name is Harrison Barron from growth-generators.com. If you want to learn more about us, head over to growth-generators.com. There is our programs, MSP Heroes, the Launchpad, tons of resources, especially free ones. There's a completely free Discord with 1,400 members and growing, tons of free tools. If you want to learn more, there are links down below. Other than that, I'm super excited to have you in this episode. Let me know what you think, because I want your feedback. Should I do more of these? Should I do less of these? Do you like when I throw these in? Anything, all good feedback is needed. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in there. Christina, thank you so much for joining me on the Growth Generators YouTube channel and recording a podcast like this. It's an honor to have you. If you could do me a favor, tell people a little bit about yourself, because I would I have a great introduction, but I think you're going to knock it out of the park way better than I'm going to deliver on it.
You give me too much credit. I think if you're Harrison, I hate talking about myself, especially trying to introduce who I am. But essentially, I lead the MSP business unit for Lansweeper,
Okay.
and we have been. For those who don't know Lansweeper, we've been in business just over 21 years. Actually, we had a big fun party last year to celebrate 20 years. But we are in the IT asset discovery and inventory business. That's all we've been doing for 20 years is figuring out how to discover all those technology assets that keep creeping into people's environments. We do it better than anybody else. We provide the depth and breadth of data on those assets that every MSP needs to be able to take action and really support their customers well. So I am super excited to be talking to you today and reaching your audience to share a little bit of some of the things that we've been learning and working on.
I love it. I love it. So, well, thank you for joining me. So, I think you have a pretty unique background. I want to talk a little bit about how you got here, because you've been with Microsoft, now you're with Lansweeper. Um, how did you get to where you are and end up in the MSP space? Because it's a pretty unique story.
Oh, thank you. And my journey as both an Aquarian and someone with ADHD is exactly what you would expect. It's like watching a pinball machine, right? It goes from one side to the other, and then I'm here and there and everywhere. But the consistent thread throughout my entire 27 years has been in technology. In fact, I coded my first lines of code in binary on a Commodore 64 when I was 9 years old. And ever since then, and I could see what
Oh,
the
so you're
power
a
of
techie through and through.
yeah, I've been around since I was a kid, and I've always loved the power of technology and what's possible. And honestly, how quickly things can evolve and change, and all of the new things that are coming. So as I started to branch out on my own and tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I knew I wanted to be in the tech space, and so I started in technology like I said, about 27 years ago, in marketing, doing marketing roles, brand positioning, really trying to understand what audiences needed, where they played. And I worked for Microsoft as a brand manager for MSN back when MSN actually was the number 2 search engine in the world.
The good old
And
days.
oh, the good old days. Yeah. Remember when the people actually got CDs sent to them? That's how you got dialed in, to your
I used to collect
subscription.
the AOL CDs, and I
Yes.
was like, I have all the license, whatever it was, the licenses of the CDs at the time, and it felt
Yeah.
like a king. I mean, they were giving them away, but I just felt like a king having them.
Oh, they're super fun. I'm sure you could put them in your trees to keep the birds away at this point because that's about all they're used for these days. But it was really fun to be working for Microsoft back then, right in the early 2000s, as things were starting to quickly evolve. And I worked in their what they call I worked with all of their partners in their infrastructure division. So at a global level, all the big global ISVs that were doing everything from data centers to network infrastructure, et cetera. And that's kind of where I got my start in technology assets, right? Was trying to figure out how to what the value of these assets were to an organization, and then how help people sell those to other companies.
Gotcha.
From there, I ended up in cloud. I helped launch some of the key tools within Azure for Microsoft. I helped work with the first Azure global partners. And then ultimately, after about 20 years of doing that, one of my clients hired me away to be their CRO. And that's where I ended up at the last company I was at. And coincidentally, it was a very similar product to Lansweeper in the discovery and inventory space. How can you take action on this kind of data to make meaningful impact for your organizations? That company got bought by Microsoft within a year of me joining, and then I was recruited to Lansweeper to come build this partner business. So 5.5 years ago, we didn't have a channel team, we didn't have an official partnering organization. So a couple of my teammates and I got together and built what we now have as a channel organization at Lansweeper.
I
This
love it.
last year, we decided to pivot though and really focus and put together a dedicated tiger team specifically for MSPs
Love
because
it.
we proved, right, last couple of years, there is appetite, there's demand, there's need for what we have to, the data that we have to offer. And so this year we have a 100% dedicated team that just focuses on the needs of the MSP, from product to marketing to go to market strategy to sales, um, technical success, you name it. We've got an entire team focused 100% on this really important audience because, MSPs are a little different, right? They have
100%. Yep. Yep.
they don't look like everybody else. They don't work like everybody else. They have different needs. There are so many different dynamics, which I love. Again,
Sure.
my ADHD brain loves all these different
Just
things and
the
input.
bouncing around all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super fun. So
Um, so with your role at Lansweeper, what do you think is the one thing that most people get wrong about what you do with Lansweeper?
yeah, I think most people just see it as an inventory, right?
Okay.
You go in, you go to pitch your customer, your IT consulting services. One of the first things you have to do is figure out how you price that bid, right? How big is your environment? How many desktops are we talking about here? How many
1,000%.
employees do you have, right? There's always this big question mark going in, and you've got to rely on your end customer to give you the information you need, so that you can bid correctly. And 9 times out of 10, that information is not right. One
Sure.
of the reasons they're hiring you is because they don't really know. They don't know what they don't know. And so people have historically just used us to manage that inventory, right? Just keep track of where all those devices live and what
Gotcha.
they. However, what we have found is the value of that information and that data extends way beyond just keeping track, right? Replacing a spreadsheet. When you can actually dig into the data and what that data is telling you about your customer's business, you can actually provide significantly more value and service back to the end customer.
1,000%. Well, I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. But the honestly, the keeping track of everything, finding everything, that's become the hard part. Just in the last 5 years alone. So 5 years ago, right, pre-COVID, when everybody was doing their normal thing, there were only about 10 to 15 different asset types, right? Categories of assets, right? You had your infrastructure, your servers, your networking stuff, you had your
Sure.
cybersecurity tools, your, firewall, blah, blah, blah. Now, fast forward 5 years, there's over 40 different asset types, right? We've got bring your own devices, we've got Internet of Things, we've got, people using smartwatches to monitor their email from work, wherever they want.
Yeah, it's out of control. The one that blows my mind the most is the refrigerator that has the camera in it that you can like at when you're at the grocery store, you're just like, hey, what's in the fridge? And like, which is fine, right? If you want to have that at your home, who am I to judge?
Yes.
But the loopholes that that thing leaves on a secure network is great. And then just people are just like, oh no, look, we can, it makes it so easy for the person that's going to go out shopping, right? Because not
Right.
everyone has a commercial refrigerator in their office, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let me just check it. And yeah, it's out of control. I like the microwave that has Wi-Fi. Like, what does a microwave need? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not using my microwave to the fullest extent, but I just can't imagine what you would need. The oven preheating, I can understand, and like seeing in
Mhm.
the fridge, but I don't. A smart microwave just doesn't. I
It's
can't get on board with that one.
I know, well, it's almost as if everything has to have a brain. I call it a brain, right? The
Sure,
IP connected into the network thing. Everything all of a sudden has to have a brain because otherwise it's not cool or innovative or whatever. And every single one of those brains, those IP addresses, right, become a point of vulnerability. And it's expansive and people are adding stuff all the time. People are bringing, like I said, they bring their own devices now to work, right? When during COVID, the average employee was using 4 different devices to connect to the corporate network, only one of which was actually corporate
sure.
approved, right?
Yep,
And
yep.
distributed, right? You got your laptop, that's what they give you, super, but people are using their tablets and, like I said, their smartwatches and their smartphones, and sometimes their wife's computer, right? Because theirs ran out of battery. And so you end up with all of these vulnerability points touching the customer's network. And if you're not doing persistent scanning,
Sure.
discovery, and you're not using a tool that can discover more than just the traditional IT assets, right? That can find those IoT assets, can find the operational technology that becomes a vulnerability on the manufacturing floor. If you're not finding all of these various asset types with that discovery scan, you end up leaving your customers a little bit vulnerable and putting your own reputation at risk, honestly.
100%. Yep. That's the last thing that you definitely, the last thing you ever want to have happen to you. Now, I'd be curious from your perspective, right? Because obviously MSPs are going to be using Lansweeper to, and truthfully, I went through, I've done tons of research on the company at this point. I've gone through the demos, and it's a very, very impressive product. And I'm not just saying that because I truly think it's a really, really cool product. I've met a bunch of people over there, but I'd be curious from your perspective, what separates a high growth MSP, right? Whether or not they're using Lansweeper, but because you have a lot of experience in the channel and dealing with MSPs, what do you think separates a high growth MSP, not, right? Growth, not revenue, from one that's currently struggling or just is consistently like I'm sure you hear, but like they're just not growing. They're just riding the struggle bus as long as I don't want to say they can, but they just can't seem to get off of it.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of factors. One, um, data shows that the highest, fastest growing MSPs are adding between 3 to 4 new managed services to their service delivery portfolio every single year. And
Okay.
those businesses are growing 20% month over month. I mean, that's
That's
significant
tremendous.
growth,
Yeah,
right?
that's insane.
And obviously, the broader your service offering, the more services you can offer a single customer, because the average organization, whether it be a small business or a large enterprise organization, outsources to 7 different managed services, right? So they're already, a single company is hiring 7 different managed services. So if you're not offering at least 7 different services, you're letting that customer opening the door for another MSP to come in and take that customer, right?
Sure.
So being able to expand your service offering is incredibly important. But there's always this chicken before the horse, cart before the horse.
To
I
be
think that's
fair, I was taking care of my chickens right before this.
conversation snuck in.
Yes,
But the cart before the horse, right? Like how do you start to add new services without adding cost before the customer, right? Like you want to make sure you've got the customer and there's demand for the service before you add the service, so you're not adding incremental technology into your tech stack and putting, the money out before you're getting the money back. And
gotcha.
so if you have a platform tool, with access to data that supports and feeds a wide variety of use cases and services, then you are really more efficiently set up to grow the business. So, and honestly, I work for Lansweeper, so I'm going to plug us for just a second.
Absolutely.
Our data supports well over 20 different services that the average MSP offers, from software as a service managed services to desktop managed services, networking, cloud, you name it. Even procurement loves our product because the data that we provide, for example, on a networked printer, right? We can tell you how much toner is left in that printer,
Huge.
right? So the
Yeah.
procurement officer can easily pull a report and say, I need to go order, 15 things of this because these printers that are networked across my 17 buildings are all going to need it soon. So they can do a more efficient buy. Or they could say, you know what? I know that because Lansweeper scans 33 million Windows devices a month, and the data I can get on those devices tells me that 30% of those will not auto upgrade to Windows 11 in October. I can go sell 30% more laptops to my end customer because they're going to have to replace those laptops in just a couple of months. So as an
Okay.
MSP, right, you see the opportunity to generate revenue, use our data to continue to grow your business. You can service many different um, managed services that you can offer without adding incremental cost to your tech stack. And ultimately, that's our value, right? We want to be that foundational data provider. We integrate into a lot of other point solutions, whether it's a PSA or an RMM or a ton of cybersecurity vendors, service management tools. We have these out of the box integrations available for, so you can extend our data to the rest of your tech stack, get more value out of those tools because you have more data going into it and making sure that those tools are actually delivering comprehensively across all your customers. But also you can use our data independently to go build new services. Um,
How
you
do
know,
you see MSPs using that data to build services?
Yeah, so one great example is we provide a vulnerability and risk insights report within Lansweeper on all of the assets, right? So we pull the NIST data, right, and the frameworks and the
Mhm.
ISO controls and all of those frameworks, and we overlay that on our data to then prioritize the level, identify and prioritize the risks in your customer's environment. So when you come in, if something's got a score of a 94, right? You know that's a high priority risk that you need to address right now. Um,
Mm,
Not only do you need to address it, we'll tell you what devices it applies to, we'll tell you what patches are going to fix it, because we also know that not the most recent patch isn't always the patch that's going to fix the problem. Sometimes you got
sure.
to go back a couple of rounds, right? And we'll tell you exactly which one is actually going to fix the issue at hand and on which devices. But you can take that report, that vulnerability and insights report on your customer's environment, take that back to them on a quarterly basis as an upsold health check, right? I'm going to sell you now a quarterly health check. I'm going to tell you how you're doing, how you're tracking, blah, 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 and give you that update and that insight. You might not have cybersecurity as a service or patch managed services sold with that customer yet, but you
Mm.
can use that report because you have the inventory data to be able to go upsell them. Lifecycle management is the same for all of the hardware in their environments, right? You can help them prioritize and budget. You can work with their procurement teams, um, with their cybersecurity teams to say, hey, these assets, these desktops or these laptops are going to become a vulnerability and a risk in October because
Mm.
the product operating system is not going to be supported anymore. So you can actually become a more proactive partner. You can expand the number of personas or people that you're talking to within an organization. So you're not just talking to the IT admin or the sysadmin anymore. Now you're selling to the finance guy because
Yep.
he wants to be able to prioritize the spend. And you can talk to the cybersecurity guy because he needs your support and your data in order to make sure he's doing his job correctly, right? So now all of a sudden you got multiple people you're selling to different services to, all with our product, all with the same data. And I think the sky's the limit. We have a great MSP partner out of Canada who says literally you're only limited to your how creative you can be
I would agree. Yeah.
because of the data that Lansweeper provides. And so it's pretty exciting, but that can also be really overwhelming. right? For a small business owner who's trying to figure out how to prioritize their time, they're servicing their customers, they're trying to sell to new customers, and now they got to try and figure out how to spin up a new service, right? And how you do that. We're
Yeah.
actually releasing later this year in our platform AI capabilities that
Beat me
will.
to it already. Beat me to it.
So
I was
sorry.
geared up for that one. All right.
But
Spill the beans early. Spill the beans early now.
go do it. Go do it. Like, let's figure out how to use our data, our aggregated data, right? We've been doing this for 20 years. We have over 20,000 end customers. That's not even including all the customers that we have now through our MSPs, right? So that's our direct end customers. We have billions of data points in our data lake and our data warehouse, and we've aggregated and anonymized that data to be able to put benchmarking analysis over the top of it. So as an MSP, you know how well you're performing against other MSPs, you know how well you're personally performing, your customers are performing against each other in terms of how quickly you're patching things or how successfully you're managing those environments. We're building AI in there so you can also then start to say, okay, well, if I want to create my own managed service around networking, for example, and I've never done that before, what data sets do I need to look at? What reporting do I need to pull? What technology do I need to add to the tech stack, right? What are the highest performing MSPs using when they're doing a network managed services offering? What are they using? What can I learn? How can I basically outline and develop a new service delivery framework based on the data that I'm getting out of Lansweeper on this aggregated data and the benchmarking information they're sharing? Like, there's all kinds of really cool, fun stuff like that that's being released over the next 6 months within our product. Some of
Yeah.
the benchmarking stuff's already there. The insights reporting that I mentioned is already there. But
The
there
AI
is.
is sweet. I will say, like, you can just, hey, how many devices of this type of device exist? And you don't have to, like, you don't even have to go pull the report. It'll just think and process and get. And I was like, just
Mhm.
the time savings, right? Like, if you think about not even the value of your time, I think a lot of people are obsessed with the value of your time, but I'm a big fan of like buying time back, and the more time that you can get back in your day, right, the more successful you're going to be. And it was pretty wild because I'd seen it in even if it takes you 5 to 7 minutes to pull the report, even five, right, even if we're talking five, from 5 minutes to 30 seconds now, that's an extra 4.5 minutes every single time you do that, right? Now, if you multiply that by every single customer, and on top of that, you don't have that like awkward, hey, hold on 1 second. Let me just punch in real quick. All right. Yep. Oh, no, one more minute. Hold on. And they're going through. Oh, yes. Okay. You have 15 of these devices that have Windows 10, right?
Yeah,
It's not instant, right? Because AI has to think, but I mean, it's pretty darn close.
yeah.
So I will say, and that should like, that's a huge, huge, huge time saver. Um,
It's time savings and it's credibility, right? This is something that I don't think a lot of folks spend enough time on.
mhm,
So when I started at Microsoft, my very first full-time job was working in the service delivery team, right? For MSN. And so I worked with all of the call center agents that delivered support services to all the end customers. And as I was trying to build programs to increase retention rates for end customers and those kind of things, I did a bunch of research. One of the coolest facts that are stories that I like to tell is, when we all do customer satisfaction surveys, right? We want
mhm.
to know, is somebody happy with us? Are they not happy with us? Are they at risk for churn? And, most part, people just come back as satisfied, right? And we think, okay, good, they're satisfied with my work. That's great, move on. But then you stop and think about that. And being satisfied is the equivalent of like the meh emoji, right? On your
100%.
phone.
100%.
Can take you or leave
How
you.
was it? Oh, I'm satisfied, right?
Like,
Wasn't great, wasn't amazing. Just, yeah, you know what? I paid the money. I'm satisfied, right? Yeah, I would, I'm not
yeah,
unhappy, but I'm not happy. I'm just
right.
okay.
Right. And those customers are your most vulnerable, right? I mean, if you're dissatisfied, all right, you can see the writing on the wall with that customer. But
100%.
these other ones, if you've got the majority of them in that kind of meh state, you got to pay attention and how you have to figure out how to delight those customers, how to put
Sure.
them into the camp of loyal advocate, you know, over the moon, the people that are going to go tell their colleagues about you at the next conference they go to, right? That's what you want. And so one of the benefits of our product, again, we've been doing this for a really long time, is our data is reliable. Our data is credible. Our data is trusted by over 20,000 companies globally. And I'm talking
Sure.
some really big names from Procter and Gamble to McDonald's, right? Are big global customers.
Sure.
We are able to give the MSP that level of confidence. When they're going back and they're talking to their customer, they can say with confidence, no, I know this is happening. I know this is coming. I know this is true. I can help see the future. I can go in as a trusted advisor and say, hey, let's help you plan for the year, right?
Mhm.
Now I'm going to come in and not just wait for you to hire me for a service or ask me if I can do something for you. I'm going to go to you and say, look, these things are happening over the course of the next year. Here's what your data says. Here's what I think our plan should be for how we're going to mitigate risk, how we're going to optimize your efficiency and your spend, right? As you're planning for the next year, you can use our data to really delight your customers because retention is a heck of a lot easier than and cheaper than going out and finding new customers.
1,000%.
So I think that's something that a lot of MSPs, again, that they don't spend as much time thinking through how to delight, not just how to be satisfied. But it's something that our data and our platform can help you deliver, right? Can move you from just a service provider to that trusted advisor role where you really are coming in and partnering with your customers to make things easier, better for them, and more efficient.
Gotcha. So this is good. Now, what do you think what do you think, like, Lansweeper collects massive amounts of data, right? And assets and environment data, right? What do you think the most underused way, or trying to figure out how to the right way to word this. What's the most underused way MSPs could leverage the data that they're actually getting from Lansweeper? What have you seen, or you're like, wow, that was super creative. Let me go tell other MSPs about that, right? I want to give them a little bit of a head start for watching this.
Oh, yeah, that's a tricky one because the creativity is off the hook
Sure.
across the board, and every MSP does something different. We have an MSP who specializes in securing, um, providing cybersecurity around the operational technology that is used in sustainable energy farms, right? So think about the windmills,
Yep.
the energy generating windmills, think about EV stations at the gas station. Um, they are responsible for securing those operational technology assets, right? Our data will provide that. Will show you what's there. We can, show you if something is pinging the network that shouldn't be pinging the network. We'll be able
Mhm.
to flag and identify that for you pretty quickly. But the way they had to deploy it, because it's an on it has to be an on-premise installation that lives in a box because they can't have anything networked, right, when they're out in the middle of a wind farm in the middle of literally like Eastern Europe. And so being able to package up our product and put it onto a device that allows them to have the full capability of our data, but in this very unique circumstance is super creative. We have another MSP in Brazil whose customer is the largest chicken farmer in all of Brazil. And so he had to figure out how to put us in literally chicken coops all over Brazil, right? And how do you make it work? Um, and so the data itself is simple asset data across the board, but how you can package this up, the flexibility that you have to be able to make it work, right, in
Mhm.
that customer environment, regardless of what the environment is, I think is the magic of our product. Because we have the ability to go on-prem, we could be cloud, we could be some form of hybrid, installation. Um, we have a wide variety of licensing options that provide a lot of flexibility for MSPs to make sure that they're not overpaying for things and that their costs align with their business model. So our product, our programs, everything is designed to be flexible and kind of malleable to make sure that we are serving our MSPs and not asking them to serve us.
I love it. I love it. Um, this is huge. The and as we're wrapping this thing up here, I have like one or two more questions, but um, beyond the AI hype, what real trends do you see shaping MSPs in the next 3 to 5 years? Whether or not it relates to Lansweeper or not, I'm curious. I'd love your insight on what that actually looks like for people, for MSPs, I should say.
Yeah, well, I think honestly, people are trying to grapple, of course, with AI and what AI's impact is going to be on the industry, right? How much of those help desk services are going to still be required once AI is implemented in your end customer, right? How do you stay relevant when AI is starting to be able to replicate some of the services that you're providing? I think those are the key things that a lot of MSPs really need to get their head around. And again, going back to delighting your customer, right? There's nothing that takes the place of that human relationship that you have with your end customer, and no piece of technology is ever going to be able to replace that. So, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, figuring out how to leverage AI as a strength, use it to optimize your services and your efficiency, right? If you don't need 15 people sitting on a help desk to be able to help provide that service to your end customers, and you can deploy them into something that's more complex or interesting, or a professional services engagement, right, to help your end customers go build something. It's really sitting back and thinking through the impacts of the new technology, how you can leverage it and harness it for good, and then redeploy your resources, your area of focus for more strategic projects, things that cannot be replaced with technology alone. And I think that's going to be the biggest area of focus over the next 3 to 5 years.
I love it. I love it. For the last question of this, what is one piece of advice you wish every MSP would take to heart right now?
Well, that's a good one. I would say I think there is massive opportunity for every MSP that exists today, having that growth mindset, right? There's no finite piece of the pie. You can grow as big as you want to grow. Um, you can be as big as you want to be. You can service as many customers as you want to service, right? There is no limit to what is possible for you as a managed service provider. Your limitations only come into play when you are um, following other people's paths and not trying to figure out how to forge your own path. Right? You need to really figure out how to differentiate yourself. What is going to make you unique within your community, within your customers, so that you can stay relevant and retain those customers over time. And again, so many people are focused; they're in the weeds, delivering the service, doing the job. That I think a lot of people fail to stop and pause and really think about their business. Um, as I gave my team an assignment this summer, and I gave them a whole week off. I said, take the week, don't do any meetings, don't take any external calls, don't do any internal calls, right? Just take the whole week to think and plan for this next half of the year. And none of them did it. I think maybe one person on my team actually did what I told them to do. And as I was talking to them, I said, I have to fully admit, thinking is a lot harder than doing,
Oh, a
which is
thousand percent. Yeah,
why so many people don't take the time to do it. And so I think my one piece of advice is make sure you give yourself the time to really think about your business. Think strategically about where you want to grow. Think about who you're working with and the partners you need, the mentors, the network you need, the influencers and the voices you need in your head. Really be thoughtful around who those people are, because it's those creative inputs and the external inputs coming in, um, combined with giving yourself that time to think, that are going to really help you be able to figure out where to evolve and grow your business in the future.
I love it. I love it. Christina, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I genuinely appreciate it. I think it now. Before I let you go, is there any other question that you absolutely wished I asked that you want to touch on? And if the answer is no, that's totally fine as well.
Not really. I just appreciate the opportunity for us to sit and chat a little bit. As I mentioned, this is the first time I've done this kind of an interview, and it's super fun. I can't wait to go tell my 13-year-old son his mom's going to be on YouTube. So I think it's been pretty exciting, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about Lansweeper and the value we're trying to bring to the MSP community with your audience. So thanks for your
Cool.
time here.
Christina, thank you so much for being here. Everyone, if you want to go check out lansweeper.com. There will be links in the video description down below. Honestly, it's a fantastic, fantastic company. And I now that I've kind of seen the insights of it, I've heard great things about it in the past. I'm a Kool-Aid drinker. I like it. I think it's a really, really cool product. And I think it is. I think there's a lot of value there for MSPs. So thank you guys so much for checking out this video. As always, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one.